What's going on, Muscle Monsters? Align Gonzalez here, and welcome to another Ask Align, where I take your questions directly from my Facebook fan page and answer them right here in one of these videos. So without further ado, let's jump right in. First question, Mark, what's your favorite hamstring exercises? I personally like leg curls, mainly because you get to feel the stretch, you get to feel the contraction, get a nice burn, get a nice pump. So I really enjoy the lying hamstring curl and the seated hamstring curl as well. However, if you are going to choose one over the other, just take into consideration your hip positioning. In the lying hamstring curl, because of your hip position, there is an active insufficiency, and thus you won't be hitting all of the hamstring heads on that movement like you would, for example, in the seated hamstring curl. All right. Next question comes from Nico. How to bulk and keep a flat belly. All right. This is actually not as complicated as a lot of people think, right? Once you're lean enough to maintain that level of leanness while you are putting on size is quite simple, as long as you are calculated, right? If you're tracking your macros, make sure that you are only in a very slight surplus, right? And the way to tell that the surplus is not too large is by the amount of weight you are gaining on average per week. So if someone's gaining a pound a week and they've been training for 2 years, then they're probably putting on a lot of fat. However, if you're putting on about a quarter of a pound a week, then you're probably more on what most people would call a lean bulk. Jose, if I don't sweat while working out, is it because I'm not doing it right? Is that bad? No. In fact, I just finished HIIT cardio and I am extremely dry. It's just, number one, it has to do slightly with your water intake, but there are just people who sweat more than others. There's some people who will be drenched just from doing regular weight training, and then there's some guys, for example, like myself, who can do high intensity cardio and barely break a sweat. All right, so that's definitely not an indicator of a good or bad workout. Avijit, what do you recommend overall to keep the joint healthy and strong when going through a heavy lifting phase? Two things, either regularly scheduled deloads or tapers, right? Basically, what these are a form of active recovery where you bring down the volume, the intensity, or both, just to give your joints a nice little rest period, and then you can come back in the gym fully recovered and most of the times a bit stronger as well. Rick Rico, how often do you cheat? All right. I don't cheat often simply because I follow a very flexible diet approach, even when I'm cutting. So because the diet is flexible, it's very sustainable, and thus I don't have to go around and binge really ever. The most I will do is just take a day where I just don't track anything but still keep a mindful eye of what I'm consuming, unless I'm far into a bulk to the point of no return where you just don't care. But when I'm cutting, the cheat per se is kept to a minimum, if ever at all. All right. John wants to know, can you give us tips on how to accurately count calories and macros, particularly foods/dishes that aren't common and can't be found in calorie counter apps? There really is no accurate way to track them unless you are weighing out every individual food item, right, or measuring it. So the best thing you can do is try to figure out as best you can what that meal is comprised of, and then break it down, guesstimate the amounts, and that is actually going to be a lot better than just not counting it at all. All right. Now, if you are in a cut, maybe you're trying to get ready to step on stage, then I don't recommend consuming meals frequently that you can't track accurately. right? But if you're just trying to get lean, to go to the beach or, as Chris Jones would say, get hoe ready, then yeah, you can have these meals, but still try to guesstimate as best as possible. All right? And lastly, how does metabolism adapt to calorie intake, and how do you know when it has been lowered or increased due to calorie restriction slash overconsumption? All right. Now, when you are on a specific diet, right, certain fats, carbs, protein, for a prolonged period of time, there are metabolic adaptations that occur, right? And a lot of it also has to do with the amount of tissue you are gaining or losing. So if you're gaining muscle, gaining fat, losing fat, or both, right? Another thing you have to consider is your energy levels in the gym. So when you're in a surplus, you can push yourself harder in the gym, and thus you'll burn more calories that way. All right, and all these things have to be considered when you're considering exactly what you're asking in regards to metabolic adaptations. All right, now the way to tell if you have adapted to an intake is pretty simple. Continue to track your intake, measure your weight every morning, and then every week get an average. If it's been about 2 weeks on the same calories and that average is not moving at all, then you are at your new maintenance, right? And that means you've adapted to this intake and it's time to make changes. And that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, click the like button below. Make sure to subscribe for more videos. If you want to get your questions answered, go to facebook.com/Muscle Monsters. Like the page. When I post a status stating that it's question time, like it. Leave your comment in the comment section, your question in the comment section, and I'll answer it in one of these videos. Peace.